I bought this unofficial product, and this is taking kind of the older Atari flashback games and Intellivision games that were ported to plug and plays using Famicom hardware, and essentially these are kind of just poorly emulated games. Some are better than others. Using technology that was cheap at the time, things are so much better, but that's what you had 20 years ago. You had classic games being ported to more common hardware, at the time NES and Famicom, and this is what you got. And so someone took all those games and put them on a cart, a multi-cart, and slapped a label on it, and this is what you got. I don't support this, endorse it. I'm just showing you this what it is. Some games play okay. Nothing is going to play one-to-one the same as original hardware. This is Atari Smash. Now you're probably seeing on the menu the ×2. Those are like 2-player versions of classic Intellivision games. This one actually plays okay. This action game doesn't play too bad. Buzz Bombers, pretty good. A little bit fast. So the speed, and again, I'm playing on my AVS, so I don't know if it has to do with that or anything, but yeah, the speed is just different than I remember playing on Intellivision. Crown of Kings. This is a port of the first Dungeons and Dragons game, and it's not great. I remember the Intellivision game being slow, but I don't know if it was this slow. And so people are going to have different opinions of this. Did you play this? This was one offered on some of the later plug and plays that Intellivision was offering in, I do believe, the early 2000s. Hover Force. Now, I'm a huge fan of the original version of this game. I don't like this port. It plays differently. Some of the inertia that you have in the original game is kind of gone here, and it's just not a great port. What I found is, even with the overhead map, hard finding enemies and no fire. And so I think there's something missing when you're not playing on original hardware. People love and hate the Intellivision controllers. For this game, I like it. And so I'm not a fan of this. This is not a good port for me. I did enjoy it. I thought the graphics looked great. And a lot of the Intellivision games look great. But when it comes to play, it's lacking something. Now, Nightstalker is actually a good port. I actually enjoy this. It's fast. It's a lot faster than a Intellivision game, but playable. Very playable. But maybe a little too fast. So, at best, you're going to have a fairly playable game, but it's not a 1-to-1 ratio for people that want to play the original. Go emulate the Intellivision. If you're curious to see Intellivision games running on NES hardware, here you go. You have this. But it was frustrating. I don't know. This one, of all the ones, I would probably go back and play this. I'm a big fan of games such as Berserk, and I like the action games on Intellivision. Then you had stuff like this, Pinball. I love myself some video game Pinball. And what did I think of this? Okay. This is okay. This actually played okay. Not a 1-to-1 comparison to the Intellivision game, but yeah, it plays pretty good. Enjoyable. I would go back and play this one as well. So, all the games I'm showing you here, not all are terrible. Some are, and we're going to get there. We're going to get to the terrible ones. Overall, I thought the Intellivision ones were better than the Atari ones I'm going to show, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was who programmed them. I found some conflicting information on who made these. For the Intellivision games, some of these were made by Nice Code Software. Here's another disappointing one, Thin Ice. And it goes back to the speed. It's just so much faster than the Intellivision one, but it makes it kind of unplayable. Makes it almost too difficult to control your penguin. It's just a little bit too troublesome with that specific control, and I didn't enjoy it, but maybe I need to just play it and figure it out more. I don't know. Have you played this one? Have you played any of these? Did you know about this? This is the type of stuff I like to talk about on my channel, about things that maybe people didn't know exist. This has been around a long time, and someone, I don't know what year, put them all on an NES cart. And you can find this stuff on Etsy, any official place that offers these types of products. Thunder Castle, it was okay. Not as broken as Thin Ice. It was okay. I don't know, it just had like some weird, I don't know, like the animation just seems different than the original Intellivision release. And I don't know, I have a lot of fond memories about playing this on original hardware. And I know that's not an option for everybody. But, for me, I'm going to go back. I'm going to play on original hardware or emulate it versus this. It's just like a weird thing to play in 2024. 20 years ago, hey, it was kind of the standard. Everything was ported to the NES and offered unofficial ports. That was kind of the go-to hardware because it was a lot more common. Then you have Tower of Doom, and, without the overlay and the complexities of this game, I think it's missing something. Porting it to the NES, and it has kind of a weird control setup. I think it misses something. Some things are easier, like the action sequences are a lot easier, but I feel like this game kind of misses something when you're not using the overlays, you're not using, the setup that you would play this with an Intellivision controller on Intellivision hardware. That's just my thoughts. Vectron, still a broken game. Is it a little bit easier to play? Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier to play here. This is a weird game where you're like building bases and then taking out enemies. I still found it troublesome to control, but less troublesome. So you have kind of a good idea. I like the idea of this game, but I don't think it's well executed. I think it's poorly executed. And at the end of the day, I'm still not going to recommend playing this version, but it's more of a curiosity. And these games still, I think, are better overall than most of the Atari. Now, there's a couple Atari ones that play okay. I'm going to show you those. Let's jump into that. So here's Adventure. It's pretty hard to mess up Adventure. And there's two versions of Adventure. I'll show you another version of Adventure later. And yeah, this one's okay. If you like classic Adventure, it doesn't have that Atari sound though. That's one thing that's hard about these, is the sound is so different. It's got that NES music, and it just, to me, doesn't work. I have such that Atari sound integrated into my brain. So hearing kind of the little inferior versions of it is tough. Now, the 7800 games on here are probably the worst. Not a fan of this at all. Just, to me, does not represent the 7800. This one, of all the ones showing, is actually not great, and it's the best of the worst. Not a fan of Asteroids on the 7800 anyways, and this just doesn't represent it. Battlezone, this is a 2600 game. It looks good, but play-wise, not great at all. Just your tank is so wide, you get like cheap shots like that. You can't avoid that. It's ridiculous. Not a fan, and avoid that. This is a kind of an ugly port, control-wise. Now, one of the better ones, actually, was Breakout. Even with a controller not having a paddle, which some people would just loathe playing it, it actually plays pretty good. This one's good. And so not all these are ugly. Not all these are bad. This is actually good. I would play this again. It looks good, too. Nice, clean colors. I don't know. I'm a fan of Breakout, though. And so this one played all right. I would go back and play this. So they're not all bad. They're not all terrible. But more often than not, these aren't going to be something to go back and play. Centipede. One of the worst games on the NES library is the Millipede game. This is better than that. So, not terrible. I would still prefer the 7800. This is the 7800 port, by the way. Not as good, not as fluid, but okay. Not as fast either. I remember the 7800 version being faster. Here's the weird Famicom version of Adventurer. I don't know the backstory on this. So if you know the backstory of this port, definitely in the comments let me know. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I got lots more to show on this video, but just want to say, hey, if you like what you see, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell, as I am uploading every week. And here's more. Here's Crystal Castles and arcade port, and it's okay. It definitely is rough. The 2600 version is faster. It's got some choppy animation. I don't know what that's about. Did not like this version. Would rather play the 2600 version. It's faster. Speed for me for the 2600 version, just a lot of games were fast. This one just doesn't do it for me. Alright, moving on. One of the worst games on this is Desert Falcon. So it's flickery. Desert Falcon has unique control, but the 7800 version is so much better. My good friend John, he introduced me to this, and he's a big fan of Desert Falcon. I think he beat it or mastered it. This is an absolute train wreck. Does not represent Desert Falcon. The 7800 is known to have lots of sprites without any flicker. This is a flickering mess and just dreadful. Food Fight is pretty bad too. This is another port that just, to me, doesn't do it. I don't know if it has the instant replay. I didn't play it long enough, but it's got flicker. I don't know. I'm a big 7800 fan, and one of the major advantages of the Atari 7800 is the ability to have so many sprites on the screen without any flicker or slowdown. And it just doesn't do a good job with that. And so, also noticed some bad hit detection on top of that. So I was really disappointed to see the 7800 versions on this be bad. Now, I'm a huge Gravatar fan. Played this a lot. Love myself some 2600 Gravatar. And the animation on the main ship and how it jumps around on the screen really takes away from this port. It's just pretty awful. It doesn't work for me. Gravatar really was dependent on like finesse and really tight controls, and it works really well with the 2600. I forget who programmed the 2600 port, but I was really impressed. I thought they did an excellent job. Not a fan of this one at all. Now, Millipede. This is actually not bad. Not as good as the original 2600. I'm a big fan of the Millipede port for the 2600, but it's not bad. This one plays good. I think this one plays better than the Atari 7800 version of Centipede that's on this compilation as well. This is pretty good. Pretty hard not to go wrong with good old classic Millipede. But it's on several things. But I wanted to show the NES port of this 2600 game. It's really strange kind of playing this in 2024. I know a lot of people probably forgot about this. Sprint Master. There was a Sprint NES game. So you're playing an inferior version on the NES, which it was a 2600 game, late release. Maroon colored box, kind of the late release boxes. It's only 2-player, and you go around and you collect these blocks, which are power-ups, and you can play bounce versus crash. Crash is kind of tougher. Control was never good on this game to begin with. I know some people can master this and get really good. I hate this game. I'm not a fan of this. I played many other things. Warlords is on here. What I played is actually okay, but my question is this a 4-player game? I had all the settings, but I don't have 4 people to test this to see if you can do a 4-player Warlords. The setup here looked like I had 3 active players, but not terrible. I'd like just to know if you can do 4-player Warlords. If you can't do 4-player Warlords, it's a bad port. Finally, and this is so disappointing, Yar's Revenge is broken. I don't know if it's just playing this on the AVS, but I couldn't get all the graphics to appear on the screen. It's truly dreadful. Tried it a couple times. It crashed. Not a fan of this. absolutely dreadful, and that's it. Here's just a sampling of kind of what you're getting with a product like this. What did you think? Is this something you'd pick up or want to try? Anyways, in the comments below, let me know. And thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you like what you see, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell, as I'm uploading videos every week. Folks are wonderful and beautiful. Let's keep it positive. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care.